World leaders have put forth ambitious plans to tackle climate change. That being said, the G20 countries aren't walking the talk. We're talking about reducing the use of fossil fuel subsidies. As per a recently published report, the G20 poured a whopping $1.4 trillion into fossil fuels in 2022, despite the world leaders agreeing to phase out inefficient fossil fuel subsidies at the COP26 Climate Summit in Glasgow some 2 years ago. The IISD's findings concur with the February 2023 report by the International Energy Agency, which touted record fossil fuel subsidies as a worrying sign for energy transition. Then in June, a World Bank report noted that by underpricing fossil fuels, governments not only incentivize overuse but also perpetuate the inefficient polluting technologies and entrench inequality. But beyond the overlooked costs of society, governments have lowered prices further by supporting fossil fuel producers and their customers with public money. The report found G20 governments last year provided fossil fuels worth around $1 trillion in subsidies, at least $322 billion in investments by state-owned enterprises, and over $50 billion in loans from public finance institutions. The total amount was calculated more than the double than what the IISD findings had provided in 2019. Now, here's a look at the brief timeline of the G20 countries talking on fossil fuel subsidies. Beginning with as far back as 2009, G20 nations agreed that inefficient fossil fuel subsidies encourage wasteful consumption, reduce energy security, impede investment in clean energy sources, and undermine efforts to deal with the threat of climate change. Then in 2015, G20 countries signed the Paris Agreement, pledging to make finance flows consistent with a pathway towards low greenhouse gas emissions and climate-resilient development. And recently in 2021, the Glasgow Climate Pact called out the countries to scale up clean power generation and to accelerate the phase down of unabated coal power and phase out of inefficient fossil fuel subsidies. Since then, living costs have risen sharply as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and then as a result of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The war sparked an energy crisis that prompted many governments to intervene in the cost of fuel and cap energy bills as well. Scientists and doctors have long warned of the dangers of subsidizing fuels that kill people while also blocking efforts to clean up economies. More recently, energy experts and economists have joined the chorus of voices calling fossil fuel subsidies into question. This report comes ahead of a meeting of the G20 countries in Delhi next month that could set the tone for the next big climate conference, which takes place in the United Arab Emirates in November. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.